Color guard, attention. Color guard, advance. Please stand for a flag of our country. Color guard, post your colors. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard, honor your colors. Color guard, dismissed.
Can we bring him back in?
Yes, we can bring it back in. Bring it back in. Color guard, advance. Come on. Come on. See right there.
Right here. Right here, ladies.
Ladies, come up
Come on
front.
up here this way, right here up front. Right there in line a little bit. There you go. Well, first of all, I'm Mayor White, and we want to extend thank you so much. We've had the Girl Scouts come up here for many years. It's always a pleasure to see you ladies, and outstanding in all your service, and appreciate all the work you guys do. And I guess it's still cookie season, or is it over with?
It's still cookie season.
There's a lot of customers out here. So thank you, everything for all you ladies do. We really appreciate all your participation. We'd like to honor you by giving you a round of applause. You all did a great job. The City of El Reno, all the citizens really thank you for everything you all do and all of your citizenship. So congratulations, and once again, thank you for coming up here, and I'll see you here next year. Thanks again, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, sponsors. Thank you all. Thank you all so much, ladies. See you later. Thanks again. Thank you all. Let's go ahead and do recreational tourism. Oh, never mind. Here it is. Okay. All right. It's now 5:35. I now call the El Reno Hospital Authority regular meeting of Tuesday, March the 12th, 2019. Order. Roll call start with Trustee Ryder.
Here. Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ballhorn. Here. Vice Chairman Cronster.
Here.
Chairman White.
Here. We'll move on to consent agenda. Consent agenda file will be considered routine by the El Reno Hospital Authority being acted one motion. Should discussion be desired on the item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number one, approval of minutes of February 12th, 2019 regular meeting of the City of El Reno Hospital Authority. Number two, approval of budget amendments for fiscal year 2018-19 ending June 30th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a motion? Second. Do I have a second? Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes. Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronster.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. All right, we'll go on to discussion items. Number three, presentation of proposed financing plan for the new Healthplex facility serving the City of El Reno, Oklahoma. This was previously listed, so item number 7. We moved it up because we want to take care of business before. I want to kind of lay out, and you all have the handouts, I think, here in front of you. I want to kind of lay out what basically how the system act is going to win, or how this is going to flow, on how the financing is going to work out. The concern was basically how we're going to come up with a facility. The bottom line is the city of El Reno has to own the facility in order for this to work. And we have currently a 60-year-old facility that's not in touch, not in date. We need to go a different direction. The location's not correct, so we need to move forward. In doing that, we want to also have a emergency room. We went out to proposals, Roger, and we seek proposals on that. We came back, and the one that came back was St. Anthony's was the best proposal we had, was build a new facility that we would own, and they would operate that and be a good partner. We're really excited about the things that they're bringing to the table and how they're going to do that and what they're going to provide. They have located a site out at Crossroads Point, which is out by the Domino's, by the new Wendy's being built. Mr. Miller's acquired a contract, a letter of intent on that property, and so we're ready to move forward as soon as we do all the actions approved by this time, if that's what you all decide to do. The bottom line construction cost for this facility is going to cost right around $9 million. We will own the facility, so we had to come up and see how do we need to finance that? How can we do that? And I think the question was, how could the city do that? The citizens are going to own that. At the time, in exploration, we tried to scramble around. I think one of the options was to basically take some of the cash from our revenues on our utility rates and raise the water rates and put basically a fee like most cities do on ambulance services and everything else that we would have on our water bill. Most cities have that, and we agree with that. But I think we've worked real hard on that. I've worked my tail off. I know city staff has. Appreciate Mr. Frazier, Mr. Sandage, and absolutely our council, Nate. Appreciate you and Gander and all the work that Roger's done. So I've kind of laid out a thing. This is my plan. This is what I suggest. Mr. Chronister, I had him because him and I are in business and not together, but kind of understand this financial stuff. I had him kind of peruse this, and he came up with a good idea. So there's one caveat that Mr. Chronister added to it. But basically, we need $9 million. So we're coming up with $1 million, which would be the settlement payment from Mercy. And we'll talk about that later on with existing arrangements. And then the $1.5 million we can borrow from the Airport Authority, which we have more than $4 million. We have $3,900,000, a little under $4 million in that fund right now. We have current projects that don't exceed that number minus the 1.5, and that was Mr. Chronister's contribution. I appreciate that, JT. We have $1 million that we have in that one fund, and I call it the hospital fund. It's the funds that we got from the lease agreement we had from Mercy. We've attained that. We got $1.2 million in those funds right now. I've tried to keep those funds sacred, and we have, and that's why we're using them at this point in time. We also have $1 million, what I call the Recreational Authority Fund, but it's the quarter-cent sales tax fund. We generate, we have about $1 million, $1.1 million in that fund right now currently is what we have, and it'll re-up every year, and I'll explain that later on. So if you add up the million, the $1.5 million, the million, and the million on that, that's $4.5 million that we have cash. That we have access to cash that we can provide, that we can go ahead and basically go in and pay for half the healthplex before we do anything, the health facility. Then the other 4.5, that was where we were talking about the water bills. We've worked diligently. We want to make sure that we don't put any bearing on the citizens if they don't have to, and we don't feel like we have to. I don't feel like, I don't know, it's your decision, Ms. Ryder, and the rest of you, but I don't feel like, Bob, that we need to do that. I think at this point in time, with the cash you've been revenue that's been in here, and the way we've had everything structured, and the way we've paid everything down, I think we're in a good cash position, which kind of an odd night. The auditors are here tonight to discuss how good we're doing. We need to come up with $4.5 million. So what I suggest is we have two funds for that. We have the Public Safety Fund, which generates a little over $1 million a year, a little under $1 million, right at $1 million a year. And we also, that's the 415 fund. And then we have the 616 fund, which is that half-cent sales tax, and it generates a little over $1 million a year, Mr. Frazier. So if we take $420,000 basically out of one fund, which would be the I'm getting confused.
415.
415 fund, I knew Marcia looked at me because I knew I was getting confused. And then we take the other 250 out of the 616 fund. Then we still have enough money to where we got our current budget, you know, to do all the other things we've been doing with our public safety and everything else. So we have enough to service that debt. Nate, we ran the numbers, and basically that'll put us at, if we do a 10-year AM, we do a 10-year amortization, and we pay 10 years on this, with what we've been doing and everything else, we'll bring in $2 million, and we'll have to have a serviceable debt of $670,000 per year. That's on the high-end rate. And what we're gonna ask you tonight on some of these actions is allow our financial people go out to solicit bids, I guess, you know, solicit people to give us rates on how we want to do that. We don't have to borrow anything at this point in time, Nate. We borrow against what we have currently, which is the bond series that we already have. And the good thing about these bond series are that we're doing a 10-year amortization on this, and both those bonds are 12 and 14 years beyond. So it's not like they're going to outlive our, it's not like we're going to be mid-year, they're going to run out. Does it make sense? Nate, am I forgetting anything so far? I don't think so. So the bottom line is that if we can do that, I think we can basically cash flow this facility. It's a facility that the citizens of El Reno need, desperately need. We have to have an emergency room. We have to have doctors. We are dependent on that. We're vying for that, and we feel like the partnership that St. Anthony's is trying to establish with us is absolutely the same goal that they're trying to accomplish. So I wanted to lay it out for you, kind of how we did it, and how it'll structure. I think it's a good plan. If you all have a better one, I'm open for ears. I sure want to hear it. But I think that with JT's contribution of the 1.5 that he had the idea for was a great idea. I think it'll really go forward and work with everything else and not put a burden on the citizens of El Reno. And in 10 years, we will own a new facility that's 10 years old, not 75 years old. That makes sense?
And you said that's a $1.5 million loan from the airport authority?
It is. It is. Okay, any other questions? Any other comments? Move on to 4, discussion, consideration, possible action authorizing appropriation of $1 million available cash. Fund 710 for payment of costs of construction of new healthplex facility. Authorize appropriate budget amendments for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. And this is the same as previous statement. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a motion. Second. I have a motion by Carson, second by Ballhorn. Roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cronster.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. Move on to 5, discussion, consideration, possible action authorizing appropriation of $1 million subject to receipt funds from Mercy Hospital executive and rental fees. Facility reimbursements currently due from accounts receivable fund 710 for payment of cost of construction of new healthplex facility. Authorize an appropriate budget amendment for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019, reflecting the same previously listed as item number 9.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second by Ballhorn. Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ryder. Yes. Chairman White.
Yes. We'll move on to number 6, discussion, consideration, of possible action regarding agreement with Pafford Medical Services for emergency ambulatory services in the city of El Reno, and authorize chairman and mayor to sign all the documents associated there too. As a contract, I want to state, Mercy has wrote us a letter, basically a Dear John letter. They're leaving our community. We didn't ask them to leave. They chose to leave. They chose to take their ambulance service. They chose to take their different facility, and they wanted to do a different route, and we understood that. They didn't complete they weren't in competition of the standards I think the citizens over there asked for the bid process. So they asked to leave, and we're going to be gracious and let them leave. But in doing that, we're going to also accept Pafford, which is a group that we're very excited about. I think that Jason Duff, our assistant fire chief, has worked very hard with him and Kent in order to get the best deal. Pafford's going to have 3 locations in El Reno. We're working through that location price right now. You've secured, I guess, all 3. Is that right? So we're ready to go forward. 1 location currently will be at the hospital, the Blue Building, is what we discussed. I say 3. There'll be another location that we're gonna have, so it'll be a total of 4 out there at the airport. Is that right? With the fixed wing unit. So we'll have more coverage than we've ever had in El Reno, and I think that's more important than anything else, is to get the best service for our citizens that we've ever provided. In doing that, we've saved a little bit of money, $25,000, but also we're gonna build a long-term agreement and relationship with Pafford. They're in this area. They have reached out to other communities, and they have been responding. I think you've already captured a couple other communities too, is that correct? Okay, so it's gonna be a good deal. So I make a motion that we go into the agreement and make sure I can sign all the documents.
Second.
I got a second by Ryder. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson, trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronster.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. We'll move on to 7, review and discussion, consideration, possible action regarding the agreement with SSM Healthcare Oklahoma, St. Anthony's, for the healthcare services for the El Reno, Oklahoma. Authorize the chairman, mayor to sign all documents associated to. Basically, this is the long-term agreement. This is the agreement that we're gonna build the facility out there at Crossroads Point. We're trying to secure all that. You have everything kind of in front of the exhibits, so basically the premise, we'll bring everything, you're authorized to sign everything, but we have to go through everything, so we can go ahead and sign the agreements to get everything to move forward, to let St. Anthony's, at this point in time, open up the dialogue for the employees. Whereas some of the management at Mercy has not been responded or maybe as caring to our community as the employees out there. The employees absolutely are the heartbeat of our community and have done a great job as first responders and employees of the hospital. They have, some of those employees have been carried over from the old Parkview days, and they've gone through a lot of trauma and a lot of pain to beat this. I hope this will hopefully end their career with the new facility out there. They've done a great job by standing by and caring about their patients and caring about their citizens. So I hope that once we get to this agreement, it'll allow St. Anthony's to hire some of those employees and go forward.
Motion be approved.
I have a motion?
Second.
I have a second. Roll call vote start with Cronster.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson, trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. This is a 24-month period is what I'm asking here, discussion, consideration of possible action regarding the facility lease agreement with the SSM Healthcare of Oklahoma Incorporated, St. Anthony's, for our healthcare services in the city of El Reno, and authorize the chairman mayor to sign all documents associated thereto. This basically is going to allow us to keep the emergency room open, whereas Mercy chose to close our emergency room by writing us a letter and leaving the area. So this will help us work through that problems and work through those situations to help keep the services for our citizens, for our elderly, for our young, and for all of our community to make sure it's going forward.
Motion be approved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call start with Cronster.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson, trustee Ballhorn,
Yes.
trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. We'll move on to number 9, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding contract with Miller Architects in regard to architectural contracts for the new healthplex, and authorize chairman and mayor to sign all documents associated thereto. This was previous items listed as 5. Roger and Mr. Miller with his firm have been working back and forth on their contract. They've hammered it out. Not much questions, not much problems. Mr. Miller is very familiar with these facilities. Mr. Miller's no stranger to 2 things. Healthcare, started with Reese and Associates years ago, took them to a level that they are right now, and then left and started his own level, which is probably bigger than what they are right now. And also, I have to admit, he's a hometown boy. So we're real proud of Darren. It's a pleasure and honor to have Darren come home and help design a facility that will help serve the citizens of El Reno. We went over the contracts. We don't see any problems. Roger's looked at them. There was some corrections. We're going to go forward. We need to go ahead and have this signed so we can have Mr. Miller start in the process of building us a new facility.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by
Second.
Ballhorn, second by Cronster. Roll call vote. We'll start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson, trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronster.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. Also, along that same line, we have number 10, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding contract with Waldrop Construction regarding construction contract for the new healthplex, and authorize chairman and mayor to sign all documents associated thereto, previous to 6. Waldrop has done lots of facilities all over Oklahoma and other states. They work hand in hand with Mr. Miller. They built a lot of the healthplexes that you see and health hospitals that you see around. The good thing about Waldrop, they are a state licensed contractor, is that correct? And in doing that we can forgive the bid process and German can hire them as services. Once you sign that, then we can get started and they can go ahead and do the construction management side of it. And the good thing about this is we have a cap on that you do not allow, you cannot go over the facility build that we decide. So we are absolutely staying within budget of $9 million. And the construction management contract allows the city and allows the contractor and architect to design and make sure we stay within that budget and provide the needs that St. Anthony's and the community need, but also stay within budget. Any questions?
Motion approved.
I got a motion by Ballhorn, second
Second.
by Cronister. A roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronister.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes, we'll go on to 11. Discussion and consideration, possible action to approve construction management agreement with Waldorf to existing emergency room facility upgrade is required by code at the 2115 Parkview Drive, not to exceed $150,000. Basically, we have an aging facility of 60 years. We're going to split that building up into different suites. Where's the Golly at? He's not here. Mary, stand up, Golly.
I'm trying.
Golly, stand up, Golly. Anyway, Ken, we've all worked and we've crawled all over the place to make sure everything works. And we worked with Walter. The bottom line is we're going to have to work through other issues on the SSM contract with the health department, but also with some doors, everything else. We've got a not to exceed number there, so we don't go over that number. That's within budget of what we have currently here. So that's what I'm asking to do, so we can continue services of the emergency room as Mercy chooses their exit. Then we'll allow them to do that, and then us do the transition to come in and provide services for the needy. Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronister.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. E, executive session. Consider convening an executive session pursuant to Oklahoma State Statutes 25, Section 307B4 for confidential communications from authority attorneys regarding the pending claims against Mercy Hospital, Mercy El Reno Incorporated, financial doing businesses, Mercy Hospital El Reno Corporation, and the El Reno City Hospital Authority, and related to the June 17, 2010 lease and authority's real and personal property and the preserved property of the micro hospital, and take appropriate action in open session.
Make a motion, we enter executive session.
Make a motion.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Make sure you take your microphones off. We'll leave the room. We'll go in the next room. We'll be right back.
Did you forget your phone?
I make a motion to exit executive session and proceed with the open session.
Second. I have a motion, a second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronister.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes.
Item 10, I would like to
No,
make...
12.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the old agenda. Item 12, I'd like to make a motion for the mayor and the city attorney to proceed with negotiations with Mercy to pursue further legal action and to potentially seek damages if necessary. Upon seeking damages, I would like to authorize the two to consult outside legal counsel if necessary.
Make a second.
Here comes the headhunters. A motion, a second. Roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronister.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Your motion is second, roll call vote start. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There you go. Bob, I think you're chairman, airport, vice chairman?
Great.
Well, airport's next.
Airport Vice Chair. You're Vice
You
Chair.
vice chairman, Timmy's not here.
Hey, hang on. Six ten, I call the El Reno Airport Authority regular meeting to order. Roll call start with Ryder.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Cronister.
Here.
Chairman Robinson. Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yep. Consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the El Reno Airport Authority and will be reenacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on any item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Item 1, approval of minutes of the February 12th, 2019 regular meeting of the El Reno Airport Authority.
Motion approved.
Have a motion?
Second?
Have a second? Roll call will start with Ms. Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Chair. Trustee Cronister?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes. Discussion items. Discussion, consideration, and possible action authorizing the appropriation and transfer of $1.5 million from available cash Fund 290 to the El Reno Hospital Authority for payment of cost and constructing a new healthplex facility, and authorize the appropriate budget amendments for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019, reflecting the same.
Motion approved.
Second?
Make that a loan? Should it be stated as a loan? This is just a transfer.
Well, we're just transferring to that fund right now. We've already took the action in the other deal. So all we're doing right now is transferring the money. What I've asked to do, Tracy, I'll make sure you understand. I want to make sure we lay all these things out, and then I want all that money kind of earmarked to a fund where Marcia can keep track of that. So then as we go through this budget process, we're not wondering where these funds were and everything else. So now I have all that money in the hospital authority fund, and that's why I'm transferring everything out. I just think that's the proper way to do it.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call will start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee White? Trustee Cronister?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn?
Yep. Item 3, discussion, consideration, possible action to move forward with the bidding process for the rehabilitation of hangar number 4 roof.
Buddy, I guess, we've had really good luck with hangar 2 roof. It's made a heck of a difference up there.
Identical square footage to rehab hangar 4 as it was hangar 2.
And I think Pafford's moving in that one area, and then we have some Pafford moving in one, and then also some use that we're going to available to lease out on most of the two, so.
Right.
Okay. I think, Matt, you're in the same specs, is that correct?
Same specs as hangar number 2.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Ryder?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Cronister?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes. Adjournment?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye. Go ahead, Bob, the authority. Recreation. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Thanks, buddy.
It's after air parking, it's very
Yeah,
little,
it's after air
very
parking.
tiny.
Oh, 6:14, I now call the El Reno Recreational Authority regular meeting to order. Roll call will start with Ms. Ryder.
Here.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Cronister?
Here.
Chairman Ballhorn?
Here. Consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the El Reno Recreational Authority and will be enacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on any item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Item number 1, approval of minutes of the February 12th, 2019 regular meeting of the El Reno Recreational Authority.
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Vote will start with Ms. Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Cronister?
Yes.
Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes. Adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
In order.
It's now 6:15. I now call the El Reno Municipal Authority regular meeting Tuesday, March 12th, 2019 to order. We'll start with roll call. Ryder.
Here.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cronister?
Yes.
Chairman White?
Yes. New business deletions continue to the agenda time. Are there any? Not, we'll go on to consent agenda. The following item be considered routine by the El Reno Municipal Authority and will act in one motion. Should discussion be on that desired, the item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number 1, approval of minutes of February 12, 2019, regular meeting of the El Reno Municipal Authority. Number 2, approval of claims requiring trustee authorization for the period beginning February 1st, 2019 and ending February 28th, 2019.
Motion approved.
Now, a motion?
Second.
Second. Roll call vote, start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. Move on to 3, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve resolution number 19-029, a resolution authorizing the El Reno Municipal Authority, the authority to issue sales tax revenue note series 2019A, the note in the aggregate principal amount of $4,195,000, waiving competitive bid process, authorizing the note to be sold as a negotiated basis, ratifying and confirming the sales tax agreement in between the City of El Reno, the city, and the authority pertaining to a year-to-year pledge of certain sales tax revenue, approving and authorizing the execution of settlement note indenture, and authorizing the insurance of all securing the payments to the note, providing for original documentation, creating the authority and subject to the provisions for the note indenture, authorizing, directing, and executing the note, and other documents relating to the transaction of approval, and authorizing an escrow deposit agreement, approving professional services agreements, continuing and other provisions relating to them also, and it's not to exceed a 3% ceiling, is that correct?
Not to exceed 3% interest rate.
Yep, not to exceed a 3% interest rate.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 19-029, sales tax revenue note in the amount of $4,195,000, not to exceed 3% interest rate.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second? Roll call vote start with Cross.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes.
Why would you waive the competitive bid process?
Well, the discussion's over, but I'll open it up next one. How's that? I'll answer the question. Number 4, discussion consideration possible action with respect to resolution number 1903, a resolution authorizing City of El Reno Municipal Authority, the authority to issue sales tax revenue taxable series 2019B, the note, the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $4,700,000, waiving competitive bid process, and authorize the sales note to be sold on a negotiated bid price, providing for authorizing sales tax agreement between the city and authority pertaining to a year-to-year pledge of certain sales tax revenue, approving and authorizing the execution of note indenture, authorizing the assurance and securing payment of the note, providing for the organizational documentation creation of the authority and subject to the provisions of the note indenture, authorizing and directing the execution of the note and documents relating to the transaction, approving professional services agreements and pertaining other provisions relating thereto services. And there's no on that one. It's just open to that. Is that right, Nate? Not to exceed 3% on that one.
Correct, it's not to exceed 5.5%.
5.5%.
Would you like me to answer the
I'm going,
committee
just let me get through one thing or another. I'm gonna run this meeting one way or the other. All right. Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yes, you have a motion to approve resolution number 19-030, the sales tax revenue note in the amount of $4,700,000, not to exceed an interest rate of 5.5%.
Okay. Do I have a second? Second. All right. Motion is second. Discussion. Okay, Mr. Copeland, your answer, Nate, you want to go answer? You'll go ahead.
Yeah, do I make a motion?
Sure. And you might go ahead and break it down from the one for the refinance that we've currently already had.
Yes. Okay, the question about competitive bidding, this is not construction contracts. That's an entirely separate statutory structure. When a public trust issues debt, there are 2 ways. They can either do a negotiated sale, where they waive competitive bidding, or they can do a competitive sale. In the case of the prior note, we're actually negotiating directly with the existing lender to take it down to a lower interest rate. It's like 3.75%. We're trying to get it under 3%.
Let's stop right there, Bruce. What we're doing is on the first note that you asked about, basically, we're not going out to another series. We're going out to the same bank, so we'll cut back on all the costs to go back out, and it's basically to enter the deal. Hang on, I answered that question.
On this transaction, there will be a bidding process. There's a statutory process. Cities use it for general obligation bonds all the time. It doesn't work very well for public trust, sales tax notes, revenue bonds, things like that. It's very rarely used by municipalities, and so under the public trust statutes, there's a provision that if there is a 3/4 majority of the council that votes in favor of it, they can waive competitive bidding. Again, there's going to be a competitive process. This resolution actually authorizes Chris Gander, the financial advisor,
Go out to bid.
he will go out with a bid packet, but But what we won't do is publish notice in the paper and be locked into a specific date or anything like that. He'll be able to go out and get quotes from banks, and whoever provides the best interest rate, that's who will get awarded the
And
note.
basically, Bruce, what they do is they go to a series of banks that handle the bigger money instead of going out to the ones that are just fishing to do, we don't know anything about. Does that make
Is that on
sense?
the new ones or is that on the refinance?
That's
On the new one, this, I mean,
New ones go out.
it will go to larger
Several
national,
banks.
regional banks. It'll also go to local banks that are, and there's several local banks that have already expressed an interest in
We
it.
met with local banks to see their interest at that point in time. But you'll have bigger people, which like Oklahoma, outside, you'll have Bank of America, things like that will kind of be on those processes. But the first
Why
one.
are you sticking with the refinance with the same bank without eating on that?
Well,
If you're getting 3%, what if someone else is offering 2 for one?
Well,
Why
go
would you
ahead.
stick with this
Go
one?
ahead.
Partly because the note is not callable for a period of time as well, and so it's really just a more efficient transaction.
You're on the right track, but all these triggers are the ones that cause that. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions? Does that answer all of them, Mr. Copeland?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Now, roll call, let's start with Ryder.
Here.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronister?
Yes.
Chairman White?
Yes. All right, discussion, consideration, possible action authorizing appropriation and transfer of the $4,500,000 from proceeds from the Series 2019 B note to the El Reno Hospital Authority for payment of cost of construction to the Healthplex facility and authorize appropriate budget amendment for fiscal year ending June 30, 2019, reflecting the assurance from the Series 2019 B note and transfer proceeds therefore.
Motion approved.
Have a motion? Have a second. Roll call. Let's start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee Ryder?
Yes.
Chairman White?
Yes. All right, we'll move on to 6. Discussion, consideration, possible action to enter agreement with Canadian County Rural Water District Number 4, CCRW4, for utility services. Basically, this is a contract. Is anybody here with the water board? Okay. This is the water area. There's we've been approached, Mr. Frazier, Mr. Sandwich. We've been approached by a company that wants to put in water lines. They're going to do all the water lines. They're going to put it in themselves. It's going to take the water line out of our plant here at 81 Highway North and service some area of development that's outside of our area in the district of CCRWD4. And they have agreed to that, Roger?
Yeah, it's commonly known as Green Valley Water District.
Yeah, and they wanted to do that because they don't want to provide that with that line, so they want us to provide that line. So they allowed us to do that. Rogers worked with the Bass Law Firm to get those proper deals. So what we're asking here is to enter that agreement and allow us to sell water within their district, which they allowed us to do. Is that correct?
We have to get their permission in order to proceed.
Yeah. The rural water district, pretty tough.
Motion approved.
I got a motion by Cronister, second by Ryder. Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee Ryder?
Yes.
Chairman White?
Yes. All right, number 7, discussion, consideration, possible action to enter an agreement with Canadian County Water Authority, CCWA, for utility services. This is a little bit different. Jeff, this deal right here, we sent Mr. Sandwich, Mr. Frazier sent Mr. Sandwich out to their meeting when we had our meeting. There's been a purchase of land that's transaction from the new fairgrounds, which is located on Jensen Road, just west of Alphandale Road. And we're going to do the fairgrounds. We've been working hand in hand with the county on that. We have some other things we're working on as far as entering some of that land in City of El Reno land. We've been working with the family, the Jensen family, tonight, about trying to get a TIF that we're ready to start on that one end that we're bringing up to you. So we're trying to develop that land. Half that land, the middle section of that land, from 81 Highway to the middle of that section, that is in the El Reno Water District. And we can provide water to the services, and that's what we're going to do with the TIF district and allow to do that and grow that area. And we have some pretty big plans for that. It's going to be kind of a major onset, Pete, but I think we're ready to do that, and we're excited about it. Banner, like Roger said, which is CCWA, has agreed that they would allow the water to be sold to the fairgrounds. The problem with that is that's what their agreement says. I'm going to ask you tonight to approve their agreement with the caveat, with the change, that we make them provide water to all of that area that's outside of our area. And specifically, Lindsay, we need to make sure we get this correct. From the section from our district west to Alphaville Road, east to Alphaville Road, and then from I-40 to Jensen in the middle section, that we want them to be able to provide water to that whole section because, and the reason why is because with just the fairground purchase, there's gonna be more area that they're gonna need, or that's gonna be sustainable, whether it be an RV park or something like that, other that they're gonna need for that area, so they be able to provide fire protection for that area and everything else. Now, on this agreement, which is different than our agreement, we're going to sell water to Banner Water District, and they will get a meter. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yes.
They will upcharge the county and upcharge the landowner or whatever they want to. So we're not anything. Our only customer is going to be that water district. But in order to do that, we need to be partners with them in order to make sure we do that. So I'm asking to approve the agreement with the change of, which I stated, which is to provide water in that area, which is from our district going east to Alphaville and from I-40 to Jensen.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion, second by Ryder. Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Chairman, Trustee Ryder?
Yes.
Chairman White?
Yes. Number 8, discussion consideration possible action to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $18,999.90 to pay application 3 in the amount of $205,338.90 for project number G10 CBGB grant number 16754, 2016 CBGB grant, water drainage, and authorize chairman and mayor to authorize and sign all documents associated thereto. This is to finalize that project. Have you all seen this project that's over there off of Watts between Keith and London? It is, that's been a water problem for years, and that's been a great project. And it looks really good, doesn't it, Jeff? We're real proud of that one. And we're gonna continue that on to Sunset. We're gonna also continue it on to Legion Park to correct that water problem, been there for years. Okay. I didn't need a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve change order. Second by Ryder. You said, Ryder? Roll call vote with Ryder then.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronister?
Yes.
Chairman White?
Yes. Move on to 9, discussion consideration possible action to approve and accept project make final payment in the amount of $14,606.40 to M&T Septic and Backhoe and Activated Maintenance Bond for project number F03 wastewater treatment improvement CWSRF project number ORF 113-0003-CW, otherwise known as septic hauling station, and authorized chairman and mayor, so should all documents associated there too. Jeff, we got our first load of poo delivered. I call that the journey. You were pretty excited about that. So we're excited about that. We got a septic station now that we're setting. So we're real excited about that, Jeff, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right, need a motion to
Make a
approve?
motion to approve.
The poo.
Second.
A motion to approve the poo, second. Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee Ryder? Chairman White?
Yes. All right, we're going to 10, discussion consideration possible action to award project number J34, contract number 1, El Reno paving improvements, project number J35, contract number 2, El Reno paving improvements, and project number J36, contract number 3, El Reno paving improvements, and approval of budget amendments, and authorize the chairman and the mayor to sign all documents associated thereto. Lindsay, Marcia, and I know Jeremy, we had our bid openings today, and you all asked us to go out to bid on all the streets. It's one of the biggest street projects we've ever had, and we're hoping to get it out on the street. I don't care about Matt. And even though Matt was part of it, we don't want to give him any kudos again. But Marcia's probably the one most excited. We budgeted $3,800,000 is what we anticipated for. Is that correct, Marcia? That's why I told her she had a heart attack. But we had that, and it came in way under. We saved almost $600,000. Yes, almost $600,000 to all the projects. So we can do the contract amount and add another, $300,000 to other roads that are looking to do that, so I think they're gonna try to do that. So we're excited. We had several bids, Jeff. We had several, the asphalt companies up north, they moved in, so we're real excited about it. And then we also get, one thing that we're doing a little bit different this year, Jeff, that you and I are excited about, the chip and seal, the county roads, that we haven't been able to do a whole lot to, we're gonna have to concentrate a lot on this, and we're doing, if you look, we're doing $736,000 worth of county roads in city limits. So we're excited.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to approve contract number one, to Vance Brothers in the amount of $736,391.05. Contract number two to Schwartz Paving in the amount of $1,058,271. Contract number three to Schwartz Paving in the amount of $1,306 to Schwartz Paving.
All right. Any other questions? We've got a motion. Do I have a second? Second? Motion is second. Roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson, trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronster.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Abstain? Motion carries. We'll move on to 11. Discussion, consideration, possible action to award bid for project number J36, Lime Slakers. 37. For the approval of budget amendment and authorize chairman to authorize to sign all documents associated thereto. Did you see that email?
Yeah, I did.
So do you want to go ahead and do it?
No, that'd be nice.
You want to go ahead and check it? That's fine. I didn't have to talk to you since then.
Yes, I would like to reject based on the engineer's estimates of being exceeded.
I got you. Okay. I have a motion to reject all bids at this time. You can't make a motion. I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to reject all bids. Yeah, I'll make you run the damn meeting. I got a second by Ballhorn. Roll call start with Cronster.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Robinson, trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. We'll move on to 12. Discussion, consideration, possible action to set a minimum credit card transaction for the use of bulk water and bulk water station and the amount of $20. The problem is we have our brand new bulk water station that we're selling thousands of gallons of water to now at the water plant. Takes a credit card. But someone can go up there and just get 500 gallons and pay $2 or $3. But it'll charge us fees more to exceed that. So what we want to do is, we have to change this in order to do that, to cover credit card charges. So it's, like I said, account up and not charge it, but if they're just doing $20, they got to at least do $20 on a credit card.
Motion approved.
I got a motion? Second. Second. Roll call, let's start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Robinson, trustee Ryder. Yes. Chairman White.
Yes. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. We got a motion second. Roll call, let's start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Robinson, trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. We're adjourned. Is anybody here from Ministerial Alliance? It's now, I'll do this first. It's now 6:34. I now call the El Reno City Council regular meeting of Tuesday, March the 12th to order. Will you please stand and join me in the word of the Lord?
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for these men and women who are present here this evening to be about the business of this community. We ask your continued blessing on the city of El Reno and the state of Oklahoma and on our country. We pray for progress, prosperity, and for good health for all our citizens. We ask your blessing again on those present and guide and protect us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Join the flag salute, please. Oh, we've already done it. We've already done it. The girls did it.
Old habits are hard.
Now, old habits, we always just turn right around and do it. Okay, consent agenda. We'll go on to, let's see, new business deletion agenda time. Are there any? If not, we'll go on to the consent agenda. Following out, be considered routine by the El Reno City Council and acted in one motion. Should discussion be desired on the item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. The city manager recommends one motion that we approve the minutes of February 12, 2019 regular meeting of the El Reno City Council. 2, approval of minutes of the February 28, 2019 special meeting of the El Reno City Council. Number 3, acknowledgement and accept donation made by the El Reno Soccer Club in the El Reno Soccer Arena in Adams Park for the new commercial goals estimated at around $3,000. We're excited about that, aren't we, Matt? Jeremy, they look good, don't they? And also acknowledge a donation made by Carol Nichols To the El Reno Parks Department in Reinhardt Park, the addition 2 new trees south entrance in memory of Ike and Betty Eisenhower. And number 5, approval of claims requiring council authorizing for the period beginning February 1st, 2019 and ending February 28th, 2019.
I'll make a motion to approve items 2 through 5 and consider one separately.
Gotcha. I have a motion, approve 2 through 5. Did you say second?
Second.
Roll call start with you then.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronster?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes, we'll move on to 1. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We got a motion and second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronster?
Abstain due to my absence.
Mayor White?
Oh, yeah. Motion carries. Okay, well, we're gonna take E, we're gonna move it to the end of the agenda since we have so much more. We have a good opportunity. We're gonna take it all the way down to the bottom. Go to F, discussion items. 6, discussion consideration of possible action regarding presentation of financial year-end, June 30th, 2018 annual financial statements, independent auditors reports, and single audit reports. Go ahead, you go first. I'll make the decision, you go first.
I'm Marcy from Crawford and Associates, and normally Frankie's here to do this little presentation, but he's out of town. So I'm gonna just hit the highlights. You should have received a performer in your materials that is our version of kind of giving you a grade on your financial condition and activities over the past fiscal year. We're talking fiscal year 2018. And we compile several financial ratios and give a grade of rating from 1 to 10. And your overall rating can be found on page 5 in that booklet. And it went from a 7.1 last year up to a 7.8 this year, so you're doing very well. That is an extremely good rating. And the reason for the increase is mainly because you had $9.5 million more of sales and use tax revenue during fiscal year 18. So that was the major cause of that increase that you saw in your rating. I'm not going to go over every individual rating that is in here, but if you have questions after you read through the document, I'd be glad to take those now.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Can we get Arledge up here?
Hello, I'm LaDonna Sunning with Arledge & Associates, your external audit firm. And we issued your opinion and your yellow book report that are bound in your financial statements. The opinion is right behind the table of contents. I'm not going to read that to you, but it is unmodified, which means it's standard language throughout. The yellow book report is the last 2 pages of your bound financial statements. It is also a standard report in that there are no findings that we attach to it. So I do need to point out quickly that is a report and not an opinion. We point out anything that we find on internal controls or compliance, but we do not do the level of work that would be required to opine on those. You have one other document that you should have received from us, which is a letter stapled on our letterhead. These are our required communications that kind of wrap up the audit for you. There is only one item in here that is, I would consider, outside of the ordinary, and that's with regards to the annuity funds that are the $400,000+ that was booked over to the city this year. And that this letter, we're advising you to seek ways to resolve that. That is really all I have, unless you guys have questions for me.
I think some of us have already been individually with you, and Marcy, appreciate you all coming in. Appreciate your good work that you guys do. You all work real well. I want to commend, I was part of the process, like I have been every year, they always drag me in there. But I'm real proud of three different entities here. I'm real proud of our staff, and I think you ladies would absolutely agree with that. We have the best staff in order to do this. Marcia and Karen and all the ladies, everybody pitches in to make this thing work. This is a process that's very long and tedious to get these paperwork done. We take it very seriously. I was telling Marcia earlier, we've ran this thing like a business. You can see that we can. We have three good things working for us. We have revenue coming in, but we also have a great plan. You know, when I first got mayor, we owed millions of dollars at the golf course, millions of dollars at the hospital, millions of dollars at the airport. And we're in a lot better shape, and we've been real stewards. And I appreciate the council for doing all this, and all the councils in the past that we've worked with. You can look at the direction the city's going, and a lot of that's good to citizens. But the main thing is that our employees and Arledge and, I don't want to say Frankie, but Crawford Associates. Now, I know Frankie for years, we talk all the time, but it works out real well. We got a great support team with them, and we do our job, and we're real proud of them. So thank you, ladies, for everything you all do. We mean it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Move on to 7. Discussion, consideration, possible action with respect to Resolution 19-031, Resolution City Council, City of El Reno, Oklahoma, the city approving the encumbrance of indebtedness by the City of El Reno Municipal Authority, the authority assuming the sales tax revenue note, taxable Series 2019A, the note, providing for the organizational documentation, creating an authority, subject to provisions for the note, indenture, authorizing the insurance, said note, waiving competitive bidding process, and bidding and restrict the sale of the said note, and approving and not pursuing the authority pertaining to the sale of the note, approving and authorizing the sale of tax agreement between the city and the authority to year-to-year pledge of certain sales tax revenues and contain other provisions related thereto, not to exceed the 3%. Is that correct, Nate?
Yes. Make a motion to approve for authority, not to exceed 3%.
Okay. We got a motion and a second by Ryder. Roll call start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Moore?
Yep.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Move on to 8, discussion, consideration, possible action with respect to Resolution 19-032, Resolution of the City Council of Reno, Oklahoma, the city providing concurrence and indebtedness by the City Municipal Authority, the authority issuing the sales tax revenue note, the Series 2019B, the note providing for organization of the document, creating the authority and subject provisions for the note indenture, authorizing insurance of said note, waiving competitive bid process by the respect of the sale of the note, and said note, approving and proceeding with the authority pertaining to the sale of note, ratifying and confirming the sales of tax agreement between the city and the authority pertaining to the year-to-year pledge of certain sales tax revenues and containing other provisions related thereto. Now, this was not to exceed, Nate?
5.5%.
Yeah, so make sure.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
For authority.
Okay, make a motion?
It's a different resolution, it's not
Yeah.
authority.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh,
Make a motion to approve, though,
That is.
with the 5.
Exceed 5.5.
Guys, hang on, guys. Let me ask, not to exceed the 5.
5.5.
Okay, gotcha. Second. All right, I got a motion by Ballhorn, second by who owns the second?
Cronister was the second.
Second.
Second it is. All right. I got a motion and a second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
There you go.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. All right. Number 9, discussion consideration of possible action authorizing appropriation and transfer of $1 million available cash fund from 415 to the El Reno Hospital Authority for payment costs, construction, and new healthplex facility, and authorize appropriate budget amendments for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019, reflecting the same.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second. Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. We'll move on to item 10. Discussion, consideration, possible action regarding the notice of intent. Lease Minerals, the City of El Reno. We have some more minerals that we want to add to that this time. So what we'd like to do is take no action on this so that we can just come back and do it again with the more, and give us more acres to lease out at that point in time and be better for the individual people.
Should get a better response.
Yeah. Okay. Then we'll go on to 11. 11, to conduct a public hearing, consideration request by Evolution Competitions to reclassify the zoning district from light industrial I-1 to moderate industrial I-2 on the tract located on Trail Boulevard west of Shepherd Avenue, more particularly described Lot 3 of Block 1 in El Reno Industrial Park 2, in addition to the City of El Reno, Oklahoma, Canyon County. According to the recorded plat, therefore, guess what? I now consider the public hearing open. Dustin, where are you at?
Right here.
Come on up here. Dustin, this is the location This is in the CIP, is it? No. Okay, you got it up there. This is the land, is that right?
They'll actually be doing it inside that building.
Okay.
They're rezoning the building and the tract of land, and the next item will be the storage of explosives in that building.
Well, that's what it says CIP, but go ahead, that's fine. So tell me, before we get further, we're not North Korea, we're not doing bombs there, I guess.
That's correct.
Okay, so what exactly are we doing?
All right. Weatherford came in about a year ago to those of us that were on the council at that time and gave a little bit of a presentation. It's a very similar thing to that in that they'll have very small charges that will be stored in boxes, in vaults, in rooms inside the building, and it'll be double key switches, and there will be a separate location for the electronic charge versus where the actual explosives will be. So it would, the safety measures on that are very intense and regulated by the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms bureaucrats.
Okay, I'm lost. I'm completely lost. This is a public hearing.
Oh, this is a public hearing on the rezoning.
Hang on. So this is a public hearing on the rezoning. So walk me through the process of the rezoning.
Okay, the reason for the rezoning application is to allow the second public hearing. The storage of explosives as a CUP is not allowed in the I-1 district, and it is allowed in the I-2 district, which is why they're asking for the rezoning.
Okay, so we got to prove this before we can prove the other one. Now, let me ask a couple questions. So the bottom line is, Kent, you've checked this out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Fire marshal's looked into this the same.
I mean, it's the same type deal like we talked about when we did the Weatherford deal. I think we did for another company too, Kent, years ago.
I think this will be
The third one
has.
we're done. Now, they are also modified, and they have to keep records not only with us, but with the state and the feds. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then part of our conditional use permit, which is coming up, I'm not going to let you skip around too much, but in order to do that, they have to, part of our conditional, on this conditional use permit, is to provide what they get from the state and the federals to provide to us. Is that correct?
If you guys use that as a condition.
We
that's
have
what
it
is
before.
correct.
I say it's correct. Okay, all right.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It appears on the commission application proposed, it looks like industrial 3 on the application.
I'll speak to that in about 15 seconds. There was a miscommunication between Evolution Completions and myself at that time. We did public hearings, or we sent out the notification for the I-3 zoning district because that's what that was said. As soon as they got it, and as soon as some of the other members of the community got that, we got a lot of concerns about the I-3 zoning district. They reduced their request to the modern industrial I-2 district on the floor at the planning commission meeting.
Okay, so we're giving if it was a higher, then we'd have to repost.
That's correct.
And so since it goes down,
That's correct.
and it could be less case if it's been addressed at the public hearing for the planning commission, then we can go ahead and accept the I-2. And if it was going out the other way, then we'd want to repost and say, we need to re-notify the neighbors at that point in time. Is that right?
Absolutely.
There you go. All right. Any other questions? Dustin, this passed 100%.
That's correct. There is also a formal protest in your packet.
But wasn't his questions addressed?
Yes, his questions were addressed, but it's important to note for the record.
That's right. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Do I have a motion? Or no, any other questions? Let's get out public hearing. All right, now we'll move on to B. Discuss consideration possible action to approve ordinance number 89185, an ordinance to reclassify zoning district from light industrial I-1 to moderate industrial I-2, tract of land on Trail Boulevard, west of Shepherd Avenue, more particularly described as Lot 3 of Block 1, El Reno Industrial Park 3, in addition to the city of El Reno, Grand County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat therefore.
Motion approved.
I got a motion, got a second, roll call vote, start with Roger.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson. Councilman Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronister.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yeah. We'll move on to 12. Conduct public hearing, consideration, request for evolution completions to grant a conditional use permit for the storage of explosive within the moderate industrial I-2 zoning in district, subject location Lot 3, Block 1, Block 1 in El Reno Industrial Park. And in addition, the city of El Reno, Canadian County, Oklahoma, according to recorded plat, therefore, it is located on the south side of the Trail Boulevard, west of Shepherd Avenue. I now consider this public hearing open. Basically, we've heard from the fire chief, we've heard from the planning director. Basically, this is what we still want. I think the only requirements I think that we would like to stipulate on this, what I would personally like to stipulate, is if we're gonna do that, then they need to provide yearly or whenever their annual, if it's biannual, whatever else, whenever their packets are up on their particular paperwork they have to do to keep those explosives, when they renew that, we have to have a copy of that on file up here at City Hall.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then the planning commission recommended that the CUP applies only to evolution completions. And
That's right.
That they restrict to only the types of explosives that they use for their business.
That's correct, and I'm glad you mentioned that, I was gonna say that. So then, if it leaves, it doesn't go with the property.
Right.
I'm with you, so we'll do those two stipulations. Dustin, anything else?
No, sir.
Good. All right, any other questions or comments? Now consider public hearing closed. B, I consider discussion, consideration, possible action, request by Evolution Completions to grant conditional use permit to the storage of explosive within a moderate I-2 zoning district, subject location Lot 3, Block 1, in the El Reno Industrial Park 2. In addition to the city of El Reno, Canadian County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat, therefore, it's also located on the south side of Trail Boulevard, west of Shepherd Avenue. I said we give a conditional use permit with the conditions that all paperwork done federally and state is kept on record at City Hall, and also this permit only stays with Revolution and the business they're currently in right now and does not transfer to another subsidiary. I make that motion.
Second.
I got a motion second by Ryder. Roll call start with Cronister.
Yes.
And by the way, Dustin, this passed 100% to you.
It did.
Go ahead.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yep.
Councilman Robinson. Councilwoman Ryder. Mayor White.
Yes. 13. 13, conduct public hearing, consider a request by Ryan Scaramella to reclassify the zoning district from rural agricultural A1 to moderate I-2, approximately 44.8 acres, located on the south side of Jensen Road, west of Choctaw Avenue, within the northeast quarter, North 4, Section 29, Township 12, North Range 7, west of the Union Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma. I now consider the public hearing open. Dustin, this went before Planning Commission, is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Scaramella has done some other land, is that correct?
That's also correct.
Okay, then it adjoins that. This land adjoins Jensen and the, what I call the power grid, the power station, is that correct? It is.
Yes.
It said yes. What the, went to Planning Commission, is that right?
That's correct.
They have any questions?
They had a couple of questions concerning development.
Will they answer?
Yes.
Okay. Did it pass 100%?
Mr. Commissioner Stevenson stepped out of the room.
Okay. So it passed
But
100%?
it did pass.
Okay. He didn't abstain even?
He did not abstain. He left the room.
Okay. All right, so it passed 100%. Any protests?
No, sir.
Any calls or comments?
I had a couple of phone calls, had a couple of comments, but no formal protests, nobody spoke in opposition to this.
Good enough, all right, thank you. Is anybody here with any concerns of the property? Mr. Scaramella, I see you and your family are back here.
Yes.
Okay, you want to rezone this, you want to use this for the best use of your property, is that correct? Do you have any other comments or questions at this time?
I don't.
Thank you. I now consider public hearing closed. Move on to B, discussion consideration, discussion consideration of possible action of approved ordinance number 9187, ordinance to reclassify rezoning district from rural agriculture A1 to moderate I2, approximately 44.8 acres, located on the south side of West Jensen Road, west of Choctaw Avenue, within the northeast quarter, Section 29, Township 12, North Range 7, West End Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma. I got a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a second? Roll call vote, start with Ryder.
No.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes, motion carries 3-1. All right, we'll move on to 14. To conduct a public hearing, consideration of request by Rosa and Steve Culver to reclassify zoning district from rural agriculture A1 to moderate industrial I2 and a tract approximately 13.4 acres located on East Jensen, just east of Choctaw Avenue within northwest quarter, northwest 4, section 28, Township 12, North Range 7, West End of Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma. Dustin, this went before Planning Commission. This is an area that butts up against, I call it like the reverse Oklahoma, I guess you'd say. It goes against Jensen Road, then wraps around and goes out to Choctaw, is that correct?
That's correct.
It butts up against Helena, and then the railroad tracks on the back side of that. Let's make sure I'm getting my bearings right, is
That's
that right? Is that, what is Helena zone?
I-3.
That's what I thought. Okay. All right. So, this was put before Planning Commission. They had lots of questions. There's a protest letter. I know I received a couple of letters with, one that's in the protest area and then one, from a neighbor down the street. So we received 2 protest letters. So, what was the problem, or what would they say, or what was going on?
The major concerns were that this, if you extend this picture, and I intended to extend this picture for this meeting, and I didn't. But as you continue to go down from this location and southward, you're into 10-acre, what I would call large lot residential tracts. They're neither agriculture nor residential. They kind of serve both purposes. The property owners to the south are justifiably nervous that they're getting enclosed on and encroached upon by industrial on all sides, whereas the applicant feels like her property is best used to be sold and used for industrial because she neighbors it on 3 sides at this point.
Okay. All right. It went to Planning Commission, it failed?
That's correct.
100%.
3 to 0 with an abstention.
Okay. All right. JT, go ahead. JT, help me out a little bit. Bob, go ahead.
What about the person in the corner? What are they?
Did they protest?
No.
I think the way I understood.
Person in the corner didn't protest?
No, I think the way I understood was if you get this rezoned, they want to come back and rezone theirs. Is that right?
Pardon me?
If you get this rezoned, they want to come back and rezone their property.
They might.
So,
But they agree. I talked to them and they don't have no problem at all.
but they didn't show up at y'all's meeting, Dustin.
That's correct.
And they didn't send a protest letter.
No.
The one further down is what we're talking about. The
Right,
person-
no, I understand that. Who's on the east side there?
Helena.
Helena, that's zoned I-3.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And then the feedlot's on the other side. That's the problem with this particular one.
I did receive protest letters and calls about this.
I think we stated that.
Yeah.
Did you receive more than 2?
No, but I received calls.
I think that's what I'm trying to tell you. We received, we're trying to do with the fact we received 2 letters. One letter was in the receival of the feet. Is that correct, Dustin?
To my knowledge, the city planning office only received 1 letter.
I got 2, but one was within the protest letter, right?
Okay.
But let's stay, we gotta get to the facts of it. I mean, I'll make sure we're all, okay. JT, go ahead. Bob, you got more questions?
No.
Well, I mean, on this, typically the precedent that we've set in the past by revising the industrial code, we wrote in the sensitive border standards which state that when I-1 abuts residential use, that it has to adhere to the use standards, the performance standards of I-1. So really, this is we've been over this time and time again. So it's labeled I-2, but only to the extent that you can develop maybe 10% more of the property as far as occupying the surface, and there's really not much of any other distinction between that and I-1. It has to perform the noise, the lighting, everything has to perform for like I-1, so really the question is it suitable to put I-1 next to a residential estate? And that, I mean, I consulted a zoning map, and it's all over town. I mean, it's a relatively normal precedent that we've set in the past, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, you have I-3 all around it, I-2 all around it, I-1 all around it, so I mean, it's not that, in the future, you're kind of, given that these people want it to be industrial, they're the property owners there, you know, of this particular parcel, and given there's industrial all around it, and that we've written the code to protect those residents around there the best that we can, then I'm kind of like, well, it's kind of hard to violate precedent, in my opinion.
Well, and I agree with you, and the problem I have with this is that across the street, you got, I mean, it's industrial, yeah, you got everything around you.
Yeah.
But I understand where Lindsay and, I know where the Princess are coming from, I get it.
I guess
understand.
the line, it's kind of it's a market factor that works itself out. I mean, the line's gonna, whenever the property owners decide to quit rezoning their property industrial, then that's where the line's set. But at this point, you don't know where that line is. I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that you can't determine one property to the other. I agree. Well, let's hear some better. Okay, Ms. Culver, do you want to come up here and state what you want to do, and then Lindsay, I'll get you,
I just make a little bit. See, if you notice, this is being sold, as close to street on the property, and this really goes to.
Ms. Culver,
Vince.
come on, pass all of them out, and we'll come back and let you talk.
Okay.
Thank you. And what terms do it? Oh, that's crazy. Ma'am, would you please state your name and your address?
My name is Rosa Culver, and I live on 1904 Palo Verde. I own this 13.4 acres on 44 South Chapta Avenue. And I wrote a little letter for you guys. Hopefully you understand. I'm a little nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Okay.
We're here to help everybody. No,
Okay.
this is one of those deals. I've known Lindsay all her life, and I've known you. No, we just got to figure this out. It's just, we understand. Don't worry about it. We're here to help you.
Thank you. Attention to Reno City Council members. I have submitted this letter regarding to the application I presented to the Planning Commission meeting on February 26 at 6:00 p.m. We request to have our 13.4 acres rezoning to moderate industrial at 4449 South Chapta in Reno. As you know, our request was denied because one of the 10 letters that we sent to our neighbors close to our property, only one family come to protest to the meeting. It was John and Nancy Prince came to the meeting and protested to the result. They said they are not only my neighbors, but they're also my friends, and I understand them, but at the same time, we asking them to understand that we are not gonna build a house on them, on our property, because we are surrendered on the east side, the north side, and the west side with the industry. We put so much love, money, and hard work into this property, even having blueprints made for our future dream home. We will appreciate if you can, please reconsider our request to be rezoning to more industrial. In advance, we'd like to thank you so much for the attention regarding to this matter. Steven Roscoe. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Culver. Okay, anybody else here for the property? Talk for the property? Yes, sir. Come on up.
The next one.
You're the next neighbor, okay?
Yes, and I'm not sitting wrong.
You're Carlos, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you're going, you're the next item, and,
Yes.
but you're gonna speak for her, because you want yours to zone too.
Yes.
I got you. Okay. All right. Anybody else for the property? Let's see. Lindsay, come on up, honey. Tell both of you. State your name and your address.
John Prince.
And Lindsay Prince, and we live, go ahead.
Why don't you pass it up? So we're obviously the track you can't see there. And what our main concern is we bought this property to raise our family. We knew Helene was behind us. We had no idea going into this. We just bought this place,
A year ago.
yeah, right at a year ago. We had no idea that this was all gonna be rezoned. So if you guys rezone them, like you said, you've already set the precedent, so where does it stop? You are the ones that have to stop it. Because if you do them, then you do Carlos. And that means that our fence line, where our kids are playing, there's gonna be a pipe yard there, a hot shot crew, some type of oil field industry, right in our front yard. No barrier whatsoever.
Well,
There can't be a pipe yard.
yeah, I was just gonna say, that's, and I think that's what
That's I
we
agree.
kind of need to get a little bit of this. And Carlos, your first name is Carlos, I assume.
Yeah, well, my
Your last
name
name's
is-
Ferrier?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, I got you. Now I'm with everybody. I want to make sure you're mad. Okay, and I think, let me kind of go ahead. Let's hear your, I want to hear what your concerns are, and then we will address them.
Okay, I grew up on this road. I'm sorry to be emotional. This is
understand.
our life. We live here. We raise our children here. Under 50 feet, our house sits from this fence line. Our basketball court, our kids, our livestock are here. Choctaw, there are many homes on Choctaw in the neighborhood that I grew up in. And there's bicyclists, there's walkers. And I want to keep this agriculture. I want to keep this country. I want to keep it that way because I don't know where this is going to stop. I mean, it's a vicious cycle. And I just need it to stop.
Okay, well, let's kind of address some things, and I understand, Lindsay, and I don't think anybody here we understand what you're coming from. We had to make tough decisions, and we kind of got to deal with the facts. And I think here's kind of what, let us kind of address some of your concerns, Mr. Prince. I think go back to what JT said. It won't be a pipe yard. I think that's a conception. I don't blame you. We understand that. When I came on council, we had this pipe yard problem. We inherited it back in the 70s and 80s. We didn't have anything to do with it. That pipe yard was there before the houses, and then they started driving. So we've tried everything to make it all work, because everybody has to get together like neighbors do anyway. I'm like JT. I think we have to keep the precedent going to a certain extent to understand how the zoning goes, because if you're surrounded on the front part all by industrial and across from their industrial on I-3, it's hard to do. I think you made a very good point. I think you have a good point as far as where does it end at. And Dustin, I don't want you to talk too much, but I think the bottom line is there was some concerns of that study coming out of the deal you're all doing, where it's going to start and stop at, because I think that's a concern. I think we all understand where that's at, where does it start and stop at. But this problem is right here, Lindsay. It's behind you. It's across the street from me. It's all zone industrial now, everything on either side of it. So where do we do that? The problem that, Mr. Prince, you're addressing is we have put a lot of things in place, JT, with the lighting, with the noise, site-proof fence. They can't do that. They got to be so many feet back from you. It's zone light industrial. Remove this to light industrial. Is that correct?
Well, it's moderate, but
Okay.
label is moderate, but it would act like a light. It would have to.
It would have to be out like a light. So there'd be lots of restrictions and setbacks on this. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. How wide are your lots?
330.
330? Okay, so the I-2 setback on that is?
110.
110
You got 110 feet, so it's half a lot.
Yeah, well, third of it, yeah.
Quarter of it.
Well,
Third of it.
And then on the I-1 application, the setback would be
90
feet. 80? 90. So, I mean, really, if someone applied for an I-1 here, you would get less of a setback than with I-2. It's just how the code is written. So on an I-2, even though they're gonna perform the same, you're really in better shape to be with an I-2 than an I-1. And then you follow that rationale and you say, man, it's hard not to put I-1 next to residential estate, because everywhere. I mean, I-1 is like not a very intrusive industry at all. So I think it's intimidating to hear moderate industrial.
But it's not a pipe yard.
But it's not a pipe yard. It's got to be quiet. It's got, the lighting has to be regulated. The noise has to be regulated. It has to sit back far enough from your property to, I mean, farther than I-1 would have to sit back. So, you know, like if someone came and asked for I-1 here, like how could you say no to I-1 here whenever there's industry everywhere? So I-2 is really a better outcome for you guys than I-1. It's counterintuitive, but it's true.
Gives you more setbacks.
Yeah, it gives you more setbacks.
And I know it's not something you want to hear, but I mean, that's just kind of one of those things. The culverts want to sell their land, they want to do the best use for their land, and so does Carlos, and you all do too. I mean, it's something we're going to have to, it's a tough deal for us. Lindsay, I do agree we need to figure out where it ends at. I think we have to do the study at some point in time, and you're doing that right now currently, right, Dustin?
That is correct.
But it's hard not to rezone this based on it backing up to the RE, because I think you're gonna get the same protection you got right now. You're really gonna get better protection than what you'd have if you do industrial. And you got I-3 back behind you, and a railroad track. I'm zoned out, you know where I live at, and I'm with you. I grew up on Choctaw down the street from where you're at. You know, brother, I understand. It's hard not to deny that transition. And I don't know what else to do, JT.
It's tough.
So the Municipal Planning Commission recommended to deny it.
They did 100%.
So, and I think part of that question is, where do you stop industry from encroaching upon residential areas?
I think that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, and that's what's gotta happen.
Well, I think you say gotta happen. That's you're talking to the 4 or the 5. He's at a big show right now, but he's got to be part of that deal. And you're going to the board next one. I don't know what you're laughing at. But I think it's one of those things that we need to figure that out, you know. Gosh, it's just hard to deny that zoning across the street and back behind on the other side of it. Okay. Anything else, Lindsay? Jeremy, you guys, thank you all very much. Appreciate you all. Okay. Anybody else? Laura, I know you live out there. I know you're concerned. That's your daughter, but you still live out there. You all have property out there. You grew up there too. I understand. I get it. I will tell you this. We put these placements and work real hard for the community to get these things as far as the lighting and the sound barriers and everything else. And, you know, we've done these restrictions to protect the neighbors. So in essence, we're really trying to protect the princes, which we need to. We got the offsets, which we need to, which if we do the zoning, you're getting almost double the offset that you would if it was industrial. It's only 90 feet. Light industrial, sorry. So, I mean, it's hard to deny, I guess, is what I'm saying, but go ahead, I'm listening, I'm open.
And this has always been a big concern to me with this kind of stuff. And I know it's a touchy spot, but we still have to look at everybody equally.
That's right.
If you were 40 years older and you owned the corner that's being changed so you could sell all the property because you don't want to deal with it anymore, it would be really hard for people to tell you what you can and can't do with your property. I mean, that would be my thoughts. I realize that y'all are young, you're raising a family, you're doing everything that you're doing out there, been out there a long time in that area. But everybody sells their property, moves around, does what they want to do based on how they feel and what they bought and started with in their life when they started growing up, even back when you were. I mean, the city come out and changed area where I live to industrial even on their own before we got all this stuff in place. Now at least we have stuff in place to at least keep it to where it's kind of, even though it comes out there, but it doesn't become the same problem that it would have been without the things we put in place. I just don't know, and maybe that may be a downfall with me, but how can I justify to this man and this woman, you bought this, you paid for it, now you can't sell it or fix it? You can't change it. That's not fair. It's not fair to you either to have to deal with that. So I hope you all can understand the circumstances that we're in, because we don't like being put in the position to do this. But you're going to have, you've already got commercial on the other side as soon as they build there. You're going to have commercial on your backside. And so it's a tough deal, and I wish I had a fix-all for this, because you're right. It's ridiculous, it's crazy, and...
Can I say something?
Yeah.
But when they bought that, they knew it was rural agriculture.
Right.
They bought it for that reason.
Yeah.
The only reason they're trying now is because they're afraid of what's gonna happen in the future.
But then, and I think that's the problem, Lord, like JT's saying, rural agriculture only gets zoned one thing, and that's up. I mean, the problem is that, unless you buy a lot of it, you can surround yourself with a house of the 80 acres. The problem is rural agriculture goes to RE, and RE, the problem is rural residential estates, that surrounds this zoning. And I know that it'd make it better, I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. The more thing I agree with Lindsay more than anything else is I wish we had a stopping point on this thing, Dustin. Because, but I will take up for the culverts one side, like Bob's saying to a certain extent. You got land and access off of Jensen that's surrounded by everything.
All three sides.
All three sides. So you can't, okay. Any other discussion?
And just one more comment too, like, whenever we wrote this code, it was like, we followed the precedent of other municipalities. This took months and months to write, and even there was a nuance there that we adjusted that said, before it said, the sensitive border standards are triggered next to residential zoning. That's what other municipalities use. And we said, no, we're going to do residential use. Anything with a house on it automatically triggers it. So we try to be even more, like to branch out even further, just away from residential zoning to really encompass the needs of current property owners. But it's like we've written this code, and if you don't use the code, then the code loses teeth. You mess up your precedent, and then you really don't know what to anticipate in the future, because you don't have any precedent set. That's right. That's all I got.
All right, any other questions or comments? And I consider public hearing closed. We'll move on to B, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve ordinance number 9184, an ordinance to reclassify zoning district from rural agricultural A1 to moderate I2, a tract approximately 13.4 acres located on East Jensen Road, east of Choctaw Avenue, northwest quarter, section 28, township 12, north range 7, west Indian Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma.
I move that based upon the planning commission's recommendation to deny.
Have a motion for denial. Have a motion for denial. Motion for denial. Motion dies. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I got a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion second, roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ryder?
No.
Mayor White?
Yes. Motion carries. Move on to 15, to conduct public hearing, consideration request by Juan Ferry to reclassify zoning district from R agricultural A1 to moderate industrial I2, to tract land approximately 10.6 acres located on southwest Choctaw, southwest Jensen, within the northwest quarter 4, section 28, township 12, north range 7, west Indian Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma. I need now consider public hearing open. Basically, this is the next section of the 10-acre tract, which would be south of there. Mr. Ferry, you want to rezone it?
Yeah.
You want to sell it, and you want to use the best use of your property, is that correct? And Mr. and Mrs. Prince, same standards state for you all.
This is the one that backs, that's right up to our house.
That's right.
He lives there now, we live there.
Sure. Gotcha.
This is the one that's right.
I got you. Still, same protest?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Any other comments? Now consider this public hearing closed. We'll move on to B, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve ordinance number 9186, ordinance to reclassify zoning district from rural agriculture A1 to moderate industrial I2 to attract appropriately 10.6 acres located on South Choctaw, just south of Jensen, within the northwest quarter, Northwest 4, Section 28, Township 12, North Range 7, West End, Reno, Canadian County, Oklahoma.
Just one comment I will make on this is that, I mean, with both the Culver and Ferrari, how do you pronounce it? With both of those properties, I mean, it would behoove you guys to, I think that, you know, I see that the zoning's in that area, but, you know, I don't know that you're gonna be able to do much until you talk to your neighbor to your north. I mean, as far as having a marketable piece of real estate, because you have 110-foot setback to your north, you have 110-foot setback to your south, so all of a sudden you have 2/3 of your property that's actually usable to build stuff on. So if you talk to your neighbor to the north, it might take quite a bit more time, but that'd be something y'all would definitely want to look at. Anyway, that's all I got.
Okay.
It's just, yeah. That's
No,
it.
I have a motion.
I have a motion to deny.
I have a motion to deny. I have a motion to deny. I second. I have a motion and second to deny. Motion on the table, motion and second to deny. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
No.
Not to deny?
Yes, to deny.
All right, great.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Sustain.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
No.
Mayor White?
Yes, I vote yes to deny. So the motion is 2 yeses and 1 no, 1 abstention. 1 abstention counts as a no. So the motion basically dies. Is that correct, Lindsay? No rezone. All right. And I think that the key is, I'm still not against this, but I think it needs to be a better plan laid out. I agree with both sides of this, and I'm not picking sides. I agree with Mr. Cronister absolutely 100%. The thing I like, JT, about this, I want to explain this, is because that Culver's they face Jensen and they face the others. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he tied his land to the Culvers and the other piece was in there, and I'll be honest with you,
Then it'd be different.
I'd be a different deal. And if they can do that and come back and rezone, I would entertain that with some setbacks. Does that make sense? Because that's where it stops at. That's a fair compromise. Okay. All right, we'll move on to 16. Discussion consideration, possible action regarding agreement with Pafford Medical Services for emergency services in the city of Reno. Authorized chairman, mayor, sign all documents associated thereto.
Motion approved per authority.
I have a motion approved per authority. I got a second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn? Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Now you can go home, right?
Thank you.
17, review and discuss consideration possible action regarding agreement with SSM Healthcare Oklahoma St. Anthony's for healthcare services for the city of El Reno, and authorized chairman and mayor to sign all documents associated thereto.
Motion approved per authority.
Per authority.
Second.
Second, roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
18, discussion consideration possible action regarding facility lease agreement with SSM Healthcare Oklahoma Incorporated St. Anthony's for healthcare systems in the city of El Reno, and authorized chairman and mayor to sign all documents associated thereto.
Motion approved per authority.
I got a motion to authority.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Roll call, let's start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Robinson? Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Motion carries. Number 19, discussion consideration possible action regarding contract with Miller Architects regarding architectural contract with new Healthplex. Authorized chairman and mayor to sign all documents associated thereto.
Motion approved per authority.
Motion approved with authority.
Second.
Got a second. Roll call, we'll start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Robinson? Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Number 20, discussion consideration possible action regarding Warren's construction contract, new Healthplex. Authorized mayor, chairman, to sign all documents associated thereto.
Motion approved per authority.
Have a motion with authority. Got a second. Roll call, we'll start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Robinson? Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Number 21, discussion consideration, possible action to approve construction management agreement with Waldorf, the existing emergency room facility upgrade required by code at 2115 Park View Drive, not to exceed $150,000.
Motion approved for authority.
I got a motion through authority.
Second.
Got a second. Roll call vote. Start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronster?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Motion 22, discussion consideration possible action to approve budget amendments for fiscal year 2018-19, ending June 30, 2019. Marcia, you want this done, don't you? Okay.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion, second. Roll call start with Ryder again.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Cronster?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Number 23, discussion consideration possible action, enter agreement with Canadian County Rural Water District Number 4, CCRW D4, for utility service previously listed as 21. Item number 21.
Motion for authority.
Motion for authority.
Second.
I have a second. Roll call vote with JT.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Number 24, discussion consideration possible action to enter into agreement with Canadian County Water Authority, CCWA, for utility services previously listed on 22. This is the same restrictions on this.
Motion for authority.
I want to make
Second.
sure exception on that.
Exception.
Okay, thank you. Motion and exception. All right. Roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronster?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Number 25, discuss consideration possible action to approve change order number 1, the amounts of $18,000, and pay application number 3 to the amount of $205,338.90 for the project number G10 CBGB project 16754. 2016 CBGB water drainage is authorized chairman and mayor to sign all documents associated there too.
Motion approved for authority.
Motion for authority.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Robinson? Vice Mayor Cronster?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Item number 26, discussion consideration of possible action to accept project at final payment amount of $14,606.40 to MT Septic and Backhoe, activated maintenance bond, project number FO3, wastewater treatment plant improvements, CWSRF, project number I can't say it. ORF, good gosh, Jeremy. 13-003 CW, otherwise known as Septic Hauling Station, authorized chairman and mayor to sign all documents associated there too.
Motion approved for authority.
Motion approved authority.
Second.
You got a second? Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman
Right.
Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronster?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes, we're going to 27, discussion consideration possible action to award bid for project number J34, contract number 1, El Reno pavement improvements, project number J35, contract number 2, El Reno pavement improvements, and project number J36, contract number 3, El Reno pavement improvements, approval of budget amendments, and authorized chairman, mayor to sign all documents associated thereto.
Motion approved for authority.
You got a motion approved authority?
Second.
Got a second? Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Question. Okay, I got a motion and a second. Go ahead.
Question, earlier you discussed these contracts for payment, but there was no dollar amounts. But you interjected those dollar amounts in the meeting, but they're not posted in the.
We didn't do any of it. What he's doing is, these are, if you notice on the agenda, they're asterisked on the side. These were done, the action was taken in the different authorities. And if you notice what they're saying is motion carries per authority. So they're reaffirming the authority is what they're doing. So they're doing their same vote
That we did earlier.
that you did earlier
Same
per
discussion
authority.
we've already had.
He's saying per authority, they are all right, everybody's saying per authority. They've already taken the action. The only action item they did not take was 22. 22 was discussion consideration possible action to approve the budget amendments. It didn't have asterisks. There was a motion made and there was a second, and then there was a recall vote. But there wasn't any statement saying that it was per authority.
I understand that part. The part I don't understand is you interjected dollar amounts that are not posted.
They went out to bid on that, opened the bids today, and so that's in their packet, and that was discussed, and they made the motion.
We've already voted on that.
Okay.
We voted on the municipal authority. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
They
So-
couldn't have known what the bids were gonna
going to be to
He's
post.
still, that's not the question he's asking. The question he's asking is that, why are you not, no, the question you're asking is that why are we not reading the dollar amounts off one of these deals? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the answer to that question is, the reason why we're not reading the dollar amount is because we've already read the dollar amount in the action item we took. They are saying we're making a motion to prove this per authority. We've already done it. So they've already,
From our earlier vote.
for the early vote. Just so it doesn't get redundant, because some of these we have to do in each one of the authorities.
So was that at a previous meeting or was that today?
Just today.
So if you go
When
back.
we,
even
when
at the
we, when we
beginning-
read those amounts the first time, everything we read the amounts on, we're voting on now in a different meeting.
Okay.
That make sense now?
Wait.
Okay. You with me? So we read the amounts. We're just reaffirming in a different authority.
Okay,
Okay.
motion second.
I got a motion second, roll call, yeah, right, you second.
Yeah.
Roll call, Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn? Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Abstain? All right, we'll move on to 28, discussion, consideration, possible action to award bid for project number J37, Lime Slaker, the Silver Water Treatment Plant. We want to reject this bid, is that correct? That is correct. Okay, a motion to reject,
Per authority.
per authority? Second. A motion is second, roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. All right, we'll move on to 29, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve the award J32, demolition of 720 North Bickford and 821 South Ellison. Previous list is at item 27. Okay, we've received 3 bids on this, and it looks like the low bid on 821 Ellison is Baker Bucket Works, and the low bid on Stevenson Septic and Backhoe is $5,000. I'm sorry, on Baker Bucket Works is $5,275, and on the no, I'm sorry, I'm reading this wrong. The low bid is on Ellison is Stevenson, and then the low bid on 720 is Baker Bucket Works. That's $7,300 on Bickford and $5,000 on Ellison to Stevenson backhoe. Okay, it is.
That's my property.
It is.
Yeah.
Sure.
I met with the city marshal back in.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So this item right here, this is discussion of bids. Do you have a problem with receiving the bids?
I have a problem with you didn't want my property, period.
I understand, but you've had public hearings already announced to that, is that correct? We've already condemned your property. Your property's already done.
Then you did it illegally.
Well, then you need to get a lawyer to do it.
Well, I
Because-
thought it was today,
well,
so-
that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not trying to argue with you, Bruce, but here's the bottom line is, we're not condemning your property. We've already took that action. No, what we're doing is.
I do get to speak for the record.
What we're doing here is
I
either
know what
awarding.
you're doing here, awarding
No,
a contract to them.
either awarding or not awarding.
And I disagree.
Okay?
And I
So-
need to have a discussion when I disagree with you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's what my discussion is. I just want it on the record.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, you had the opportunity to be up here and you weren't here.
I was here.
You were
I
not
filed
here.
an appeal back in January.
No, you
I
weren't
was
here the last
on
council
January
meeting.
9th.
You were not here the last council meeting. Because I asked where you were. I said, I'm surprised you weren't up here. I asked that specifically. Is that right, Ms. Brown? I said, I'm surprised Mr. Copeland's not here. I said the exact words.
So that I'm clear, the deal I reached with the city marshal didn't get discussed here in that meeting?
We had a deal that the marshals came and showed pictures of the property that was located on Ellison. There was no one here to argue one way or the other. The marshals pled their case.
So here's the issue with the marshal's case. The marshal filed a document with the city stating that
But
the
Bruce, I'm
property.
going to shut you down because here's the bottom line is, I'm not arguing the case. If you were at the last meeting, you could argue the case. I got to stay on budget or on task, and the task is either to approve the contract or not approve the
What's the name
contract.
of the contract that you're approving?
On Ellison,
So I can
is
amend myself.
Ellison, Stevenson Septic and Backhoe.
Then I'll amend myself. Stevenson Septic and Bethel?
Yeah, I mean, that's who's low bid. And then on the other one is Baker Bucket Works.
7,300.
Yeah, 7,300 at Bickford.
Alderman must, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, you. All right. Discussion or responsible action to approve award bid. I make a motion we award bid to Stevenson Backhoe at 821 South Ellison, and we award bid to Baker Bucket Works to 720 North Bickford. Baker Bucket Works for $7,300 and Stevenson for $5,000.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yep.
Councilman Robinson. Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. Now, Bruce, now you can take it and do the action accord, and that's what you have to have. All right, we'll move on
Is everybody here too?
to discussion, consideration, possible action to set minimum credit card transaction for the use of bulk water and bulk water station in the amount of $20.
Motion approved for authority.
Got a motion per authority? You got a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote starting with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson. Councilman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes, we'll move on to 31, nomination of 2 positions to the Board of Trustees of the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group for a 3-year term commencing July the 1st, 2019. This is previous item number 29. I'd like to nominate our favorite city manager, someone that's been involved with this group for a long time. You'll do a great job with Oklahoma Insurance Group. Jeremy, I think you did a good job. I nominate Jeremy Frazier.
Second.
I got a motion second. Roll call, let's start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson. Councilman Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronister.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. Move on to 32. Presentation financial reports. Marcia? I think we've done enough presentations tonight, haven't we?
Not too fast. The sales tax and use tax were up for March, and thanks to our people and citizens and businesses for providing that.
We're seeing a lot of business in town. It's doing real well. All right, now we'll move on to E, audience participation. Anyone having an item that is presented to the city council that does not appear on the agenda time, please come to the podium at the time, state your name, your request to limit your presentation to 3 minutes, and that item presented must pertain to city or Reno business. Anyone? Anyone? You don't have anything? Wow. All right, I was ready for you. All right, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. We're adjourned.